Hello, everyone. This is Terry Erzman. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Percona. Welcome to today's webinar. Thanks for attending. Before we get started, first of all, I'd like to make sure that everyone can hear us okay. So if you could please raise your hand in the GoToWebinar control panel to indicate that you can hear me, I would appreciate it. Great. See lots of hands up. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. During the webinar today, if you have questions, please submit them in the questions panel in the GoToWebinar control screen, and we'll answer as many questions as we can at the end of the presentation. We are recording today's webinar, and we'll send a link to the recording as well as to a copy of the slides within 24 hours. So please watch for that email with details for the recording and the slides. With that, I would like to introduce our speaker. Today we have one of our consultants, Frederick Descamps, who is talking about manage. His webinar is Manage MySQL Like a DevOps SysAdmin. Fred, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Hi, everyone. So just start with who I am. So my name is Frederick Descamps. I'm French speaking, so my accent is a bit strange, so don't worry. If you see something, if you don't understand, just ask a question and Terry will tell me. So I'm managing MySQL since 3.23, like most of people, I think, and I'm a DevOps believer. I work for Percona for more than 1 year and a half, and before I was already in the open source world. So, and you can find here everything about me. So to start this webinar, we'll start by using DevOps-like slides. So I switch to this mode now. You will see that this webinar won't be at the beginning too technical. So I will try to give you, let's say, the good practices and to make you understand the concept behind DevOps and how then, as a MySQL DBA, how we can go into that. So we will start from this and try to go to there. So DevOps, it's a movement willing to help aligning IT with the company needs. So and we will start that by aligning the devs and the ops. So everything in DevOps, it's about communication. So, and the communication, it's between the developers and the operators. When I mean operators, I mean the people who is responsible of the operations, and the developer, of course, who wrote the code. So the communication between the devs and the ops should be very small and very frequent and happened a lot of time, and this is what we call the feedback loop. And everything about DevOps, this is, let's say, the most fundamental idea into. So the communication between these two, and it's not that the ops say, okay, developers do this and that's it, or the developer that says to the operator, do this and that's it. No, it is really communication in two channels, so it's duplex communication, and it should be happen very often. So we can say that we're going to bring the people together, and in DevOps we will try to use some practices to achieve this. So between the development and the operations. So like I told you here, when we do this, the operator and the developer are very happy, or should be. So this is where we start about DevOps, about the ideology behind that. So, but also now DevOps means being professional. If you check more and more, there is more and more DevOps position in big companies, and it's improving this collaboration between the departments. We're going to increase the trust and the respect, which is very important. So this is something I really like. And how can we reach that when you say, okay, DevOps seems to be ready for me? there are some rules to follow. Of course, every system is different, every companies are different, so not all the rules are possible to follow, but this is the main rules that if you can follow these, you are already in the good way for DevOps. So DevOps requires visibility. So what does that mean? It means that everybody in the company even should have the status of overview. Do we have a problem? Are there current testing going? What's the performance in production? What's happening? All that we should, everybody should have an overview on that and know about it. So we can say that DevOps, it's about something we call CAMs. What does that mean? It means it is culture, automation, measurement, and sharing. So if we can go there, we can say we are already doing DevOps. So what are the techniques behind this? I will try to explain you that right now. So how can we achieve this is by monitoring. So if we monitor our system, we're gonna be able to give an overview to everybody. Then we can take some monitoring, let's say measurement, metrics, and share it to everybody. We should try to have the infrastructure as code. So if we can achieve this, we will be really able to automate everything, and then continuous improvement, like continuous integration that the developers should already know, to improve the system and with least than possible, let's say, stop and stuff like that. So this is how it works in the DevOps world. But what about the DBAs? Because DBAs, we are a bit, let's say, put aside. And for DBAs, it's easy. We just need to follow the movement to try to do the same as the other ones. So we know that we are already between the devs and the ops. So like this, I'm happy DBA. And normally, most of the time, we are closer to the dark side of the force, what I call the sysadmins. So, but this is my opinion. Of course, I know a lot of DBAs that are closer to the developers, but in the term of implementing the tools that we can use in our daily job as a DBA, we will see that we're going to use more sysadmins tools. So how can we apply this DevOps ID to our DBA job? We're going to start with communication, again, configuration management, testing, and visibility. So what do I mean by communication? So usually, you know, the developers communicate with our manager, with the quality manager, with the product manager about this the product they are making, and let's say that's almost the only communication they have. The operators, they communicate with the support, with the ISPs, and of course with their servers. And the DBAs, we don't communicate. Most of the time we are alone, taking care of the database, try to fix all the problems that come from above, and then we have problems. So the interaction between these three worlds should be done and should be done by the start of any project. This is really a slide that I really like now. Is we need to do everything or try to do everything good at the first time. We need to plan everything, and we need to do that into it as a team. So what do I mean really with that? I mean that we need to discuss as a DBA everything that will be related to the database with the developers and the sysadmins. So for example, I've seen many people, many DBAs that don't know or can't even say anything about disk and RAID configuration of the servers. They say, oh, this is not my job. This is the job of the sysadmin. But you should know that this is a really it has a very high impact on the performance of the database. So disk and RAID design must be discussed also with the DBA and the sysadmins, for example. Schema design, partitions also should be discussed. I've seen in many cases the developers creating their product, making their tables, and then asking to the DBA take care of this. And for let's use a very concrete example. You know, in InnoDB, the primary key is very important. And if people, developers, send to me as a DBA, MySQL DBA, and they provide me a schema with everything, primary key or UUIDs, for example, I will start crying and I will say, oh, this is bad for performance, we need to change this. But most of the time it will be already too late, or they spend too many time and the code, everything in the code needs to be rewritten. So this is something you need to plan before. And the only way to do that is, again, communicate from the beginning between all the developers, operators, and DBAs. So the same for additional columns and indexes, tables repair. Sometimes when, let's say you have a database running, production, then developer has made some change because product owner said, oh, we need to make this report, but it needs to be faster, or we need this information into it, add it. Oh yes, sure, we're going to change that in the code. It's done. The DBA will install that, and tomorrow everything is ready. Maybe it's one of the biggest table you have, and adding a new a column with new indexes will make, let's say, a lot of consequence in the response time, and or we need to shut down the database, or there are some let's say some action to do there. But maybe it would be nice to plan that with everybody before and discuss that. Same for table repair and other maintenance options we have. So about configuration management, can we automate the DBA job? That's, let's say, the biggest question. And should we do that? And even if we have only one database. So because I already got that question a lot of time to say, yeah, but DBA job, it's very complicated or very critical. I don't like to automate that. Yeah, that's an opinion. And even if you have one database, my answer, it's always the same, and it is, yes, you should do that. Because there is a lot of things to configure, like which binaries we do install, which databases, the configuration of your database, cron jobs, monitoring, the grants, replications, all that need to be installed on your server. If you have one, okay, you can do that once and then you run. But I've seen also a lot of people that they have one server, it crashes, and then they need to do everything from scratch, and they forgot a grant that it was added in the early ones, or they start, they just forgot a cron job, and then there is no more reporting or reports and stuff like that. So I would say you really need to automate all this stuff if possible. And when you will start, let's say, deploying 100,000 servers, then if you need to do it one by hand, it will take you a lot of time. It will be very easy to make mistakes, and this is something you really need to avoid. So if you can do this automation using a configuration management system, you will be already able to reproduce your machine, reproduce several machines. So this is the first very important stuff. Also, you will be able to use these recipes as the latest update documentation about your servers, because this is also most of the time something that many people doesn't do. It's update their documentation, and this is very, very problematic. So, and like I just told, if you are able to configure one server, you will be able to reproduce it every time very quickly and without missing anything. So this is very important. Most of the time when people use configuration management system, they also use let's say a repository where they put this code and they maintain it with revision. So you need to keep track of any change you do related to the database. So it could be about operating system, about MySQL configuration. Even we could discuss about schema. If you can keep track of everything, this will be the best. The next step you need also to do is to test. Testing is very, very important. I've seen in production many people, let's say, not making too much taking regards of that, so paying too much attention on testing, but testing is very, very important. Everything should be tested. You change something in the MyCNF, you need to test it. You add an index, you need to test it. You add a column, you need to test it. All that needs to be tested. And of course, if you can reproduce your test more and more, then you will gain in let's say all the time you will spend writing your test, but all the tests needs to be created. It's also true that currently I've seen more and more people that are let's say using or interested in testing. They want to test more and more, and I think this is the good way to do the stuff, because more and more people had problems in the past because they were not testing. So you change hardware, you need to test, and you need to test and then compare about what with the previous results. So if you don't monitor the results, or if you don't monitor what happened before, you will not be able to see if your change is good or not. So when we have all that, we need to increase the visibility. So with visibility, I mean to expose the monitoring, the trending, the test result, and the project status to everyone in the company. Of course, some company don't need to share with everybody, but at least with all the people that are interested in the product. So it could be from the product owner, the developer, the sysadmins, and DBAs. But I think it could be very, very nice to share that with everybody completely. I've seen in some company, some monitors everywhere in the company where you can see slides, or let's say dashboards more with all the test results, the production, how fast it was going right now. And so if something goes bad there, many people will be directly alerted on that. So everybody should know why the database is slow. So when you use all these metrics, so the metrics about the monitoring, the trending, that after about the test, you will be able to plan all the new change and all the required change before problems occurs. And you should do that not alone, but with everybody. Sometimes I've also seen people complaining, oh, the DBA is doing his job, but it takes a lot of time. What's happening there? And if you share all the concerns, if you share everything with everybody, everybody will understand your job better, and you will understand the job of the others better, and that will help you to fix, let's say, to work in a better environment from the beginning. So I have discussed about notions, about practices, some ideas, some methodologies, but we are DBAs, and we work most of the time with data, and we need something more concrete. So I will try to now give you examples of what we can do to really use this these methodologies and these best practices. So for communication, I already said we need to communicate between the departments. We need to communicate what we are doing and how is it going, and for example, what's in the loop, where we are in the project. And to do that, you may know that there are some agile methods to handle your projects. I've checked some of them, and for operation, for me, one of the best methods I've seen was Kanban. So what is that? Kanban, it's something like a table, a board like this, with all your, let's say, tasks coming, and with some status, and they have priority. And also, when you enter in the DBA or in the developer or in the operator office, and you see directly the board with what's happening, you will already know that, oh, the guy is busy right now. Look, all the backlog is as, or oh, they have done everything now, everything is finished. I can give, it's time to give them a new job or to see something new. So Kanban has very good, let's say, gave good results for operations. So this is a more easy way to show. The previous one was big. So you see, you analyze, you design, you test, build, deploy. And you can do that for every new task you got. So, like I told, we use a dashboard, and this is very important, make them available to everyone. So it should be in the middle of the office. Somebody enters, sees that, and say, okay, now it's time to ask something, or this is not time, they are busy. Once again, you need to share all your dashboard. If you use some internet dashboards, you need to share that with everybody in your company. About configuration management, so the previous one was about communication. If you can communicate like that, so showing what you do, taking, showing very clear view to everybody, and for you, keep track of what you are doing, the communication part is already well done, and then make some meetings with the operators. About configuration management, you need to consider your infrastructure as code, like I said before. And for example, here, use Puppet or any other configuration management tool like Chef or CF Engine and stuff like that to deploy everything that will be related to your database. You need to save your Puppet recipes into a version control system. And also, for example, save your database schema change in that system. So you can go back, you can see what happened, and you will know, okay, we just have committed this, and since then the tests are slower. So this is related to this problem. About testing now. For test, I really like this picture too. What should we test as a DevOps DBA? So we should test if we can deploy everything and if we didn't forget anything. So this is, let's say, one of the broad topic on it, but it's very, very important that you can test from the beginning to the end everything that it will be related to your database. So about I installed the package, the cron job is there, the grants are there, the database is created, stuff like that. So you need to test that. Test also that you install the right package, and so on. Is there, for example, if you use InnoDB, and you say, okay, is the engine InnoDB loaded and stuff like that. So you need to test all that and be able to test it again and again and again every time you will deploy. But also, you need to test some performance. Is it faster with the new change? So somebody make a new change at new query in the application, or more for the DBAs, add a new index. Will it be faster now or not? Or let's say we just increase the size of the INDB transaction log. Is it faster now or is it slower? So we need to be able to test all this. So for testing that, at Percona, we use a Percona toolkit that provides you, let's say, very very good tools to see that. So if you use, let's say, PT Query Digest, you will got the response time of a query. So you can capture some queries that you want absolutely to test, and then to every deploy you run again these queries and you can test them. Are the queries faster or are they slower? And so you will be able to see, oh, the failed test because now it's slower than before. Why was that? So this is something you really need to focus on. And now there is also another product that is being developed by Percona. It's a Percona Playback. With this, you will be able also to reproduce the load that was on the production servers. So you capture what's happening on the production server, and then you can replay them in your test server with approximately the same load. Or this is the goal of the tool. Then automate your tests, so you can do every time run them again and again, which is very important. And when you have done all that, visibility. So you need to show the result of these tests to everybody again, and so everybody will know, oh, now the tests they're all failed because everything is slower than before. Maybe the direction we choose to solve the problems or the direction we choose to recreate the new product, it's bad, or what's happening there. So it's very good that everybody knows that. Also for visibility, monitoring is important. But not only for the visibility, but to maintain everything in your database. But when we discuss, it's also a very hot topic, the monitoring in MySQL, because with monitoring, let's say we split this in two worlds. So the alerting one, so monitor your database with the alerting system. So here in this example, I say Nagios because everybody knows that, but there are some others like Zabbix, Xenos, and some other. So these tools can monitor the disk I/O, the CPU load, the network traffic, the disk usage, and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of people starting to monitor everything they could, or everything the plugin of Nagios for MySQL could do. And it was a ramp, of course, because do you want to have everything monitored? So in this case, for example, do you want to be woken up in the middle of the night because the machine it's taking a backup, it's 60 seconds behind? No, of course, because this is something that could be expected, or this is not really important, depending, of course, of what you're doing. But I would say no, this is not the very critical. Then, do you want to be woken up in the middle of the night because there are 10,000 more selects than usual? The answer is again the same. No, there are more selects. Okay, maybe there is a robot, maybe there is more people connected or something like that. But no, alerting should be really, let's say, triggered with, or at least the real alert by night should be triggered when, for this particular question, is the database server running? Yes, no. Of course, if the database is down, you want to be alerted. Does it allow connection? Is replication lagging on production slave? Stuff like that, yes, it could be very important to have, to be alerted. For all the rest, it's nice to get an alert by email or to know it and check during the business hours what happened on the servers. But don't alert too much, because if you alert too much again, your operators or your DBAs will start to be tired of the system, and they will not like to work with it. They will lose the trust on it and the confidence. So you should really try to alert only on the really critical problems. But something very important, much important than alerting to me, is the trending. So this is the most interesting metrics for DBA. It's the trending result. Here, I know there are others, but Cacti, we provide on Percona website some monitoring plugin with very nice templates for Cacti. So yeah, but you can use something else, of course, like Zabbix and others. But these metrics are very, very important, and that will give you much more results of what's happening. So alerting is very, very important. Trending, it's I think more important than alerting. So you can correlate all the change you have done with the trending result in your configuration. So this is very nice, because you will see, oh, we have pushed this in production that day, and look, we can see directly the results of that. And then again, you can share that with everybody. Or you can say, oh, look, I didn't really like this change, but we did it anyway, and look, like I told, we have a problem here. Or, oh, look, I was not for it, but it's much better now. So you fix a problem with this change. So, and you will be able to correlate everything, because you have tracked everything. So what other tool can we use? Okay, there are plenty, and every day there are more, but there are also other DevOps-oriented tools like Puppet. So we discussed that for infrastructure as a code. Redmine, because it has a Kanban plugin. You have Foreman or Puppet dashboard as our dashboard for provisioning. Jenkins, and I will show you that after, that also give you information, and you can use it to create all your tests with this tool. So if there is only one thing you need to remember from this presentation, is that even a schema change must be considered like a migration. So everything needs to be considered as a migration. When I am talking about DBAs, I mean MySQL change, it's a completely migration, or it should be seen as a complete migration. Adding an index, it's a complete migration. And for let's say the developers, changing an HTML page should be also considered as a migration. It means it needs to go in the complete loop to be review, test it, plan it, and do it. So this is everything, every time you need to do. So everything that will touch the database, you always need to review it, to test it, plan it when you will do it in production, and then do it. And if you do that, we can say that the team will become a Dev DBAOps team. So now let's try to see some other tasks on how we can do that. So when we are ready with a full process, a DevOps process, then people will be trained to do all this migration very often without hitting the production. So they will have less, let's say, fear when they say, oh, today we need to touch the production. It's very dangerous. You have done so many tests. You have done so many, reproduce so many times everything, and perform the load test, functional test, that when you do it on production, it should be very smooth. For example, in a previous job, I have done this to make a product migration. It took us sometime 4 to 6 hours. After we went to completely DevOps, so automated everything, the migration of the product was about 15 to 1 hour, depending if there are a lot of indexes or not to change at that time. but I mean, so we gain a lot of time to that. So something that would be, if we want to go even further when we are ready with this, it would be very nice to achieve something what I call the smooth migration. So if we be able to achieve the smooth migration, the devs will have less pressure, the ops will have less pressure, and the DBAs will have less pressure. The developer won't need to be on call the day of the release because the release will succeed. DBAs the same, and operator will do their job. So if you have more collaboration, you will have less pressure, which is something that you really that everybody wants. So it will be the best world everywhere. So also something that will be very nice to achieve is for a smooth migration something like this. This is difficult to implement. This needs a lot of work and a lot of let's say development work. But if you achieve this, then it will be very, very easy to roll out in production. So in this case, we have an application, and the version is 1.9, the DB schema is 1.9, and everybody plans to go to version 2.0, right? So what we do, for example, we migrate the database 1.9 to 2.0. So we have already the new schema of the database, other indexes, new columns, and the application 1.9 should be able to use the 2.0 without crashing. If you are able to write that code to do that, then it's very good. After that, you migrate the application to 2.0 and it uses the database 2.0, and it should work easily. So you don't need to migrate databases and application at the same time, which is give you also less pressure and give time to do all the transition. You see that you have an issue with the application because 2.0 had a very bad bug. It should be nice that you will be able to revert back to 1.9. But still, even if there is some new data in 2.0, you should be still able to use the 2.0. This will be the best. You see there is an issue on the database. Doing this is very, let's say, very uncommon. But if you can achieve that, then it will be even easier to do that. And if you want to reach that, the only way to do it is between the collaboration between the developer, the DBAs, and the ops. So now I would like to show you some demo of, let's say, deployment of a machine. Hold on, I will see. So here I have Jenkins that with one project, and we can see that there are some build, and what's happening there I'm going to show you. So we have seen, okay, it worked and it succeeded, no problem when it was built. Check the console. So what we do here, we have a Git repository with data related to MySQL, data related also to one database, and also we can change the schema. So what we do, we create a virtual machine. So I use Vagrant in this case, virtual machine, to test all the Puppet recipes for MySQL. So it boots the machine, where we can see, and then it do all the Puppet stuff. But this was already created, so you don't see it. And after that, I use some unit testing using Cucumber Puppet in this case to check everything that I wanted, if it's there or not. and at the end, everything is there. It says succeed. So I will show you now what's behind that. So this is how it looks like. I will just ask Terry if you can see my screen okay, if you can read it.
Yes, we can read it.
Okay, perfect. So this is recipes for Puppet. So if you use Puppet, you should know that. If you don't use it, Puppet, then okay, it could be a bit unclear, but we have a manifest that says, okay, I have a node called Percona1. I want to have Cucumber Puppet into it. I want to use Percona repository. I want to install Percona server, the Percona toolkit, one test database. Here I give some class priority to create it. And I say, okay, the server ID will be one of the machines. So this is for replication if it's a master or a slave, but you can use parameters. And I want that the server is running. So only that, nothing else. And when I run the machine, let me see. Okay, I will boot the machine. I hope it won't take too much. If not, I will go further. So this is what Jenkins does. So here it does it manually just to show you. But so Jenkins do create the fetch the repository of the code. I will share it with you. It's on GitHub, so you can all the code you see now you can have it on GitHub. So Jenkins goes to GitHub, fetch the code, and play everything here. So it creates first the machine, then runs Puppet to install all the packages, all configure like I asked to be configured, and when all that is done, it starts with the unit test about, for example, in my test I ask MySQL must be running, and also what's the name of that? Yeah, the MySQL must be running. The Percona repository must be installed. It is Percona package that must be installed also, and I check when I connect to MySQL that the version of the MySQL it's Percona and not the community or MariaDB to avoid some configuration problem with my config and stuff like that. So all that needs to be checked. Yeah, I would think I will. I don't want to do so. Let's close it. Okay. Yeah, I have Percona 1 running, which is the one I want to see. So I just want to show you, for example, the test, how it works. We reach the end, the start for the question after that, and I still have some slide to show you. So here it check, okay, the machine is running, and then it will be quite fast, or it should be fast. Added to test, okay. Fast or no? It's very slow, strange. Yeah, all those VMs, these VMs are running on the machine, so it's a bit consuming RAM. Of course, he's doing it on Percona 2 because it's running. Yeah, sorry. I crashed Percona 2, so that's why. I wanted to do only on one machine, not on two machines, of course. And that's why it failed, because the second machine was not completely booted and created. So it's nice, you see, oh, we can have problems. And in Jenkins, the program will be returned and say, oh, we have a problem here. The machine is not running. But the goal was not to have this machine, so I just made an error. So I will come back to that. Just I will continue with the slide. So so in the demo that I use Git, Puppet, Percona Server, Jenkins, VirtualBox, Vagrant, mcollective, Cucumber also, and but all the code you will have it, and you can replay it if you want, no problem. So what happens when we change a schema? For example, we add an index. So we do our commit on Git. Jenkins see there is some change, so it will build the project. So what it does, it will launch a virtual machine from scratch using Vagrant. It installs everything and populate a test DB using Puppet. After that, it starts some basic tests with Cucumber Puppet to see if all Puppet code was correctly performed. No error, it's a success. Otherwise, it's a fail. If everything is okay, then it does a second test, for example. In this case, you can replay the load that you capture with playback, or some queries you have captured and you want to play always them and see the difference between all the build. So in the example, I have three selects that I want to see, and every time I build a machine, it runs the 3 selects and compare the value between every build. And so you can say, oh, during this build, the answer was better, and it should be every time faster. If it becomes slower, then you have a problem. Here you have a lot of links about all the projects I've discussed. You can find all the receipts here, so it's QR code and you can collect it. If you want to meet me, I will be speaking at Percona Live in London in December. You can find me there, and if you want to discuss DevOps and MySQL, it will be a pleasure. But I will also present a tutorial about Percona XODB cluster. So if you are interested, I will be there to discuss that. There is a discount code for it. So if you want to register, use this discount code and you will save 40%. And happy Halloween. And I think now we can start with the question. And I will see.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Fred. So again, everyone, if you have questions, please submit them in the questions window in the GoToWebinar control screen. Our first question is, for version control of schemas, do you recommend full schema definition, full definitions with change deltas, or deltas?
Yeah, there is, I would say it depends also of the project, because I don't know if you are familiar with some project like Django. There is there is SAUS that can give you let's say these deltas, and you can say it can find directly where it is in the version, and it can replay it. Now, if you can do similar stuff, so have somewhere on the database the version, keep the version, you can do and be able to replay them, all of them. So you just need to check that in your Puppet code. It's very good. I think I even prefer doing it like that, so you can see if something fails where it was, and you're sure to not forget anything, and so you can always see the version it was. The only thing you need to be very careful is that somebody didn't change the version on the database, and but didn't make the alter that belongs to that to this. So, and therefore, Cucumber Puppet, for example, is very good because you will be able to do some to check that. Okay, I see version is 1.1, for example, and that means that I need to have an index on this field and that. And if you are able to do that, it's very nice. If you want to use a full one, it's good too. But on production, it's more difficult to do a full one. So what in the example, what I do, I just have one file that change on region, and with the only change it is in it. That's it.
Okay. Next question is: does Percona provide a plugin for Cacti?
Yes. If you go on our web page, there is a monitoring plugin in products, and you have plug in this. Let's say the monitoring plugins include monitoring for Nagios and monitoring for templates for Cacti. So the answer is yes.
Okay. Next question. When doing a migration that removes a column, moving the database first would make the old code break. How would you overcome this?
Usually what we do is that you don't remove a column in let's say in between. So for example, version 1 of your application has the column. Version 2 of the database will still have the column, and version 2 of the application should be able to handle the column, but you won't even if you don't use it, the database you don't delete it, and it's in the version 3 that you will delete it at that time. So when you do alters like adding or removing a column, you will adding is not that important, but when you remove a column, you will let's say you will have every time you will need to keep the column for 2 release. So that's the only safe way to do it. So you do it first. Your application don't use it anymore, but the database will keep it until the next version of the application. So this is the way you do that. And and you can change. We use, for example, for that Percona in Percona Toolkit, Percona Online Schema Change that allows you to change while you keep stuff in production. I hope I answered the question and that I was clear enough. But I mean, when you delete, you need to keep the column for 2 release every time. Release of the database, I mean.
Okay. Next question. Have you heard of Liquibase for syncing application code version and database version? Do you have any opinion on it?
What was the name?
Liquibase.
Liquibase. No, I don't know it.
Do you have any recommendations for syncing application code version and database version?
Yeah. Most of it, no, I don't. Let's say no, I don't. This is something I really, yeah, I most do it by hand, or I don't think it's reinventing the wheel. I mean, but I mean, in the code we check. Okay, most of the time, also application I want them packaged, so everything should be an RPM. And when you install the RPM, after that, in the Puppet, you check, okay, if the version of the database is this version, you can install up to this version of the RPM, if you use a RPM base or Debian base. So, but for specific to that, I don't have any recommendation.
Okay, next question. When testing performance automatically, do you use real production data or generated test data?
To be honest, I use both of them. At the beginning of the test, I use like Siege bench data that I've auto-generated, and when we are close to the release, I do a capture data from the production, and I use the production data because this is needed too. So before going to production, always try to have the exact copy of the production into test and run again all the tests there with the database production, because if not, you are sure something will be will screw. There is something that will be wrong. So it is something very advised. It's always to do everything with the production data, exactly the same production. And if some people have a big let's say a very large database production, so if it's possible, it's better to have everything, so to have a copy. But then you don't need to have if it's for functional, you don't need a RAID and stuff like that. And then you can keep everything. If after you want to do load testing and you don't have as much as disk, but you have similar RAID, then you can split the data to reduce it, to shrink it. But you need to use the production data for the final test.
Okay, very good. Well, that concludes today's webinar. Again, we are making a recording of the webinar. We'll send a link to the recording as well as to the slides from today's webinar via email within the next 24 hours, so please look for that in your inbox. Again, we welcome you to attend Percona Live London, which is December 3rd and 4th, and Frederick will be there, so you can meet him in person if you attend. And I'd like to say thanks to everyone for coming today, and Frederick, thank you for today's webinar.
You're welcome.
Okay. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.